Well, hello and welcome to our Bible study time. We are in Genesis chapter 17 and we are continuing Abram's story. And so in chapter 17, Abram is 99 years old, we are told. It has been more than 14 years since the Lord was declared righteous in the Holy One's eyes, and this completed, we were saying, Act 1 of the covenant ceremony. Now, this 14-year intermission, which was necessitated by Abram, who insisted upon a son or an heir of his own body, and it's coming to a close here. Abram now has Ishmael, the son of his own flesh, and we talked a little bit about that last time. And he's bargained for that son of the flesh, but it's not the covenant that God wanted to make with Abram. And so now it's time for God to complete this covenant plan that he has for Abram after these 14 years. Now Abram has his, here in 17, his fifth recorded God encounter. And it's another vision. And here's how Scripture accounts for this significant event as we read here. When Abram was 99 years old, the Holy One appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be blameless. I will make my covenant between me and you and will multiply you exceedingly. And in the process of this fifth God encounter, Abram is going to learn much more about God, whom he has come to both love and fear. And the covenant ceremony the Lord began 14 years ago, which has been put on hold for Abram to have his son of his own flesh that he bargained for between Sarah and his handmaiden. And so we begin. Some theologians call this the beginning of a new covenant, but it was really not the beginning of a new covenant. It's more a restating. So what's going on in chapter 17 is not really a new covenant, but it's speaking the basic terms of the covenant over again, and these the terms really are not going to change. It's just really expanded upon. It's therefore, I guess we would call it maybe a renewal of the previous covenant that's already been made. It's going to be renewed and reconfirmed with a sign. And the sign God intended all along for the covenant was the sign of the circumcision. It's going to be at last established here, and it's a pretty important sign in Jewish heritage. And although, or perhaps because Abram has long ago been declared righteous before the Lord on the basis of his belief or his faith in Genesis 15:6, the Lord begins this fifth encounter by making it clear something more is expected of Abram than intellectual agreement with which God had spoken. The kind of intellectual agreement which would generate fleshly attempts to make the promises of God happen, which we saw again with Sarah, like in chapter 16. Abram, though judicially right, is expected to conform his life to the Lord's plan. He is to walk before the Holy One and be blameless, as our scriptures tell us. And that is not all. He is to change his whole identity. He is to receive a new nature, evidenced by a new name. He is to become a new creation. And here again are the words with which Scripture introduces Abram's new name. Abram fell on his face. God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you. You shall be the father of a horde of nations, and your name will no more be called Abram, but your name will be called Abraham. This is Genesis 17, verses 3 through 16 is where you'll find that. The new name Abram receives is Abraham. The difference between the former name and the latter name is the addition of the letter in the Hebrew alphabet of He, between the Resh and the Mem, the Mem Sophet, that ends Abram. Abraham would be my southern pronunciation of the Hebrew word. His name is now spelled with an aleph, a beit, a resh, a hey, a mim, safet. And I'm telling you this because there is some significance. So what is the significance of the hey that is added to Abram's name? Remember, we've talked about the Hebrew letter hey way back, and so I'll remind us here if we remember that Hebrew letter hey pictures tells a picture story. The roots are in hieroglyphics, and so the picture is a window, an opening of the Middle Eastern shepherd's tent. And through such a window, light and breathable air come in from the outside. And the person inside can see out, and the air is kept fresh. It is the point of connection between the inside and the outside. It is the door of both revelation and inspiration. So that's kind of the idea we get from that picture, that letter there. Abram has now become that window for mankind, and it's taken a while here. There were certainly some wrong turns along the way, but now there's no turning back for Abram. He is in this thing now for better or for worse. So the man Abraham is not the same man who left Haran or who got kicked out of Egypt or parted ways with Lot or who pursued and fought against the strongest army of the most powerful nations of the world, or who insisted on having a son of his own flesh, even if it meant mingling his seed with an Egyptian handmaiden. No, he's not the same man anymore. He will never be the same man again with this fifth encounter of God. As the Lord puts it, for the father of and speaking of Abraham's name, for the father of a multitude of nations have I made you. I will make you exceedingly numerous, and I will make you into nations, and kings will be your descendants. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you through their generations, for an everlasting covenant to be a God to you and to your seed after you. Of course, the hey in the letter hey in Abraham's name now contained the same letter that is in both syllables of the Lord's covenant name, Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, which we get our English Yahweh. The connection is clear. The Lord and Abraham are bound together, all with the hey, this opening and fresh air. And then once again, the Lord makes it clear that the land of Canaan is to belong to Abraham and to his seed forever. I will give to you and to your seed after you the land where you are traveling, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And there's just one more thing, one little detail we have not covered, and it's however radical. It requires bearing oneself into total humility and submission. This is what God is asking. And what is that? Well, let Scripture tell us. The Lord spoke further to Abram, saying, "This is my covenant which you are to keep," which means to safeguard, to cherish, to treasure. You are to keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. It will be at is the Hebrew word, a sign, a down payment, maybe the other word we could use with regard to this covenant between me and you. It's basically the faint-hearted need not apply. It's as if the Lord said, "Get your flint knife out, Abraham, cut the hay into your flesh where it hurts the most." Or as Scripture goes on to say, "And God said to Abram, as for you, you will keep my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout every generation. He who is 8 days old will be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generation. He who is born in the house or bought with money, or any foreigner who is not of your seed. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your money must be circumcised. The covenant will be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. The uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. How explicit can we get here in this scripture? This is I guess in some ways we could call this a very traumatic event that is happening here. But there's a cost to this, and there's going to be a lot more. We'll continue to look at this idea of circumcision. There's a lot that is contained in the ideas there. It's, one has to do with sexual identity or the practice of, not like the people around them. You're laying your whole self down to the Lord, bearing yourself to Him. And we'll get more into that as our study continues. But I'll stop here with this in Genesis 17. I hope you have a great day today and a great week. I hope to see you Sunday as we worship together, either at the church or here by internet. God bless. We'll see you soon.